Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new day here on the Batters Up on the one and only Sports Insanity Network. I am Mark, old ops running man now. We got the body up, recovering from 15 surgeries. Thank you to my doctors. And along with me is my PIC, as always, Mike, the Pun Master Rifkin. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Doing well. How are you? We are 1 week out from Father's Day.
I know, man, 47 and Father's Day, that's going to be interesting. But let me start this off with one of the shout outs that needs to be done. As you all know, I'm one of the heads of this network, but I'm also my own baseball card business, the Dugout of Millwood. I want to give a huge shout out to Tommy Bird, along with at the Leaf Pop Century break. Join them on Facebook. They have right now one of the greatest deals that are going on right now for Pop Century, a good pick your player, so to speak. In this case, it's pick your actress or singer. Swing on over, check it out. There are still a lot of good names left, and the prices are just right. So go over to that Leaf Pop Century buy and sell on Facebook and go take a look at what he has to offer. Great vibes, trust me. Now I'm going to kick it back over to my core host who runs this episode of Batters Up, and we're going back to Mike the Pun Master Rifkin.
All right. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy June 8th to all those who, well, celebrate June 8th, whatever the reason may be. Uh, we got a lot to go over. We're going to do another fun exercise like Dan and I did last week. We're going to change it up a little bit. But we start this episode with news out of Chicago, the south side of Chicago, as there is almost, there is a ownership change in the near future for the Chicago White Sox. That's an article from Yahoo Sports by Carl Anderson. The Chicago White Sox are looking at an ownership change in the near future. The team announced in a press release on Thursday that owner Jerry Reinsdorf has reached an agreement with billionaire investor Justin Ishiba to potentially sell his majority stake as soon as 2029. According to the release, the long term investment agreement gives Reinsdorf the option to sell his controlling stake to Ishiba between 2029 and 2033. Ishiba currently holds a minority stake in the team. Just finishing up, and then we'll get into this. After 2034, Ishiba will have the option to acquire the controlling interest per the release, which hedges the potential sale as any such future transaction. The other minority owners would be able to sell to Ishiba once he holds the majority stake. Okay. So the Chicago White Sox, who have been, let's claim it what it is, dysfunctional, bottom of the barrel over the last number of years, look like there's going to be an ownership change. Now, Jerry Reinsdorf, who I believe also owns the Chicago Bulls, is 89 years old. So the fact that this sale can happen between 2029 and 2033 with a man who's 89 years old, Mark seems a little skeptical based off of this.
Before I answer Mike's question, I want to welcome in our vice president of the network,
Oh,
Danny
morning,
Boy
Dan.
Reginald. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Good. Sorry I'm late.
No, you're
Oh, it's
good.
okay, dude. You probably were working till like 1 in the morning again. You know, we give you that extra 5 hour times. If not, we're
Oh,
fired.
we're all tired.
So, to answer Mike's question, this is not the first time we've seen teams having to be, whether it's being forced to be sold or need to be sold. Obviously, I'm mentioning the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets. The Los Angeles Dodgers were given an order by the Major League Baseball, and that took it over. I think it helped restructure Los Angeles, but gave them a position really too much against other teams. But now you look at this White Sox deal, and Mike Bryant brought up the biggest point. The owner is beyond geriatric, no offense to the man. But it's not going to be him. It's going to be the family below who are going to be controlling this team. And like we saw with the Mets and the Wilpons when Steve Cohen came in, look where the Mets are now. Sometimes a new owner who is more aggressive, or in this case, he's probably going to have head assistants helping him, who are more aggressive, who want to win and are willing to spend. I mean, you have to figure the White Sox are not billionaires here, but they might be able to invest in a few players and with draft and start rebuilding this team piece by piece. It's not going to be a 1 year turnaround. It's going to take a couple of years. But if you want examples, look at the Dodgers and the Mets. Dan?
Well, first things first, I think Mike nailed it. He's gonna be mad old when he finally gives up the majority control of this baseball team. So it's starting to become time for him to start to step away and allow the younger, richer people to come in. That and also the White Sox are due for new ownership. Let's be real about that. And look, hats off to Jerry Reinsdorf. He's one of the greatest owners in sports history, brought championships to the Chicago, and he's been excellent, excellent ambassador to both the NBA and MLB, mostly to the basketball side than the baseball side. Not saying that Chicago, the White Sox haven't had success they've had, but the White Sox need to go in a different direction, man. And while there's still the opportunities to turn it around while he is still owner, no, I think it's time that you hand it off to someone for the future. And this is a future move, you know, for when he does get older. And I have faith that the new guy is going to do whatever is necessary. This is, by the way, uh 2039, right? 34. Sorry, I can't read today. Um can't read today, but yeah. 2029 is when he takes the
Yeah,
majority.
between 29 and 33 is what's being reported, which I'm going to presume it's going to get closer to the 29 just based on Reinsdorf's age. But should also be known that Justin Ishiba is the brother of Matt Ishiba, who's the owner of the Phoenix Suns and Mercury. So,
Very big point there, too.
Yeah.
so maybe Kevin Durant decides to take the Michael Jordan route and play baseball for the Suns or for the White Sox, rather.
Yeah, we know what you meant.
There's your mess up. Look, I wonder if baseball had any say because of how putrid the White Sox have been. The good thing I'll say for this, if you're a White Sox fan, if it's anything based on what Matty Shiba has done for Phoenix, you're gonna spend some money and you're gonna make some acquisitions. Remember, he came in, all of a sudden Phoenix brings in Kevin Durant, they bring in Bradley Beal. Now it seems like they're gonna blow that thing up, but who knows? But for the White Sox, if you're a White Sox fan, at least there's something on the horizon coming for you. And you're getting a glimpse into your future now with some of those young players you've gotten in trades coming through.
Yep.
So there's always that as well. So that sale again, once it comes through, we'll let you know. On to other on the field news. And we got some bad news if you're an Arizona Diamondbacks fan. Your ace, Corbin Burns, done for the year. Tommy John will undergo Tommy John surgery. Let me just get Burns's numbers up really quick, and then we'll dive into this.
This is
As Mike
devastating.
is bringing. Oh, sorry, I cut Dan off. Dan, go ahead.
I was saying this is devastating. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah, I was basically
100%.
going to say this is one of the worst injuries of this year that has been announced.
Well, now especially because the D-backs are 31 and 33, and let's be I'll be blunt when I say it. I thought what set them apart from everyone else in the NL West, meaning mainly the Giants and the Padres, was the fact that they had a rotation of Corbin Burns, Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen. Burns was 3-2 with a 2.66 ERA. So those were his numbers so far this year. But the rotation of him, Kelly, and Zach Gallen, I thought that was going to set them apart from the Giants and the Padres. And, well, now you don't have Corbin Burns. Zach Gallen has struggled immensely. And this is the highest payroll the Arizona Diamondbacks have ever had. So now, Mark, we're not even looking for the rest of this year. We got to look into the next month what happens, because the Diamondbacks could have went from a big time buyer at the trade deadline. Now maybe this injury says, you know what? Let's punt on 25 and look ahead to 26.
Mike made a great point, Jared, with that sentence alone. With them being right now only at the almost at the halfway mark, I don't think this is the time to go into panic mode. As Mike said, they're almost at 500. They're trailing the Dodgers and pretty much everybody else is. But this isn't the end of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Yes, losing Corbin Burns is going to take a lot of energy out of that team. As you heard his numbers, and when he's up there, you signed him, not traded. You signed him to a huge deal. And no offense to Corbin Burns, I love him as a pitcher. Watched him in Milwaukee, hoped he would come to the Mets with the David Stearns relation, whatever. I thought it was great for Baltimore. We saw what he did last year. But whether it was Baltimore's decision not to pay him huge money, or he just wanted to change the scenery thinking he could get more, this is where karma comes back to kick you in the ass. Dan?
I mean, to me, I feel like what sucks more about this is the fact that, we had high hopes for Arizona when they got Corbin Burns. We had high hope. We already had high hopes about the hitting and somewhat the pitching too. And then now they add to the pitching, and it was going to be not necessarily one of the best of the National League, but compete in one of the very tough divisions of the National League, if not the toughest. So now that that's gone, they have to now make a pivot. It doesn't have to be an incredibly tough pivot. Like they could try to find some maybe bullpen help, or maybe try to get a starter from a team that's really down and out. But the fact of the matter is, Corbin Burns was supposed to be that big time ace for a long time in Arizona, and now you're not going to have him for a year.
If you look
That
at it right
delays your
now,
plans,
sorry,
you know?
sorry. If you look at it right now, they're only 6.5 games out. and you have four teams that are that good in that division. We could possibly see two teams out of that one. And I'm starting to think there's a less of a chance of seeing two teams out of the NL East now, as many other
We'll
teams have
get
fallen.
into one
Right,
of
we'll
those
get into that
teams.
later. But for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they still have a chance to make a trade at the deadline to get another starting pitcher. The question is going to be what chips are they going to use to do it?
And I think the point I brought up at the top is maybe you look the other direction and go, you know what, 2025 isn't the year we thought. Burns is hurt. AJ Puck, who was their closer, he's out. You know, everything else hasn't really fallen into place. If you look over the next 9 games after today, when they finish up with the Reds, they're going to host the Mariners for 3. The Mariners are playing pretty good baseball. By the way, Cal Raleigh for AL MVP. Let's get that narrative going.
Especially with the name Big Dumper.
Best nickname in all of sports. The Big Dumper. So you get 3 with the Mariners. Then you get to host the Padres for 3 next weekend. We know how good the Padres are. And then you're going to Toronto for 3, and the Blue Jays have won, I think it's 5 or 6 in a row. So now all of a sudden, those next 9 games are critical because it might tell us the direction the Diamondbacks go in with guys who could be impending free agents and guys who might be had in a trade. Now, they may not be thinking about 2028, 29, but something that could help them for next year as opposed to anything else. But this sucks.
Yeah.
If you're a Diamondbacks fan, Corbin Burns has finished top 5 in Cy Young voting, I think, each of the last 5 years, or top 3.
You're definitely right on that.
He is the definition of an ace. So to lose him, it puts a little bit more pressure on Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen and Brandon Pfaadt. So see what happens there in Arizona. But best wishes to Corbin Burns, who will miss the rest of the season. All right, Mark, you kind of teed this one up as we were going through Corbin Burns. As you were talking about playoff teams. So let's just dive in on the Atlanta Braves, who are 27 and 36. They've dropped the first 2 games to the Giants on walk-offs, one on a wild pitch, or the other one a home run.
Right.
Chapman yesterday. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They dropped 6 in a row. Also, the game they dropped Thursday afternoon to Arizona, where their bullpen imploded.
Oh, God.
I mean, Mark, what's going on in Arizona?
I mean, the only other time I've ever seen a
I apologize.
Yeah, I knew it. Only other time I've ever seen a comeback like that against Atlanta was the New York Mets did it almost in same fashion against John Smoltz, and then they had to go through a bunch of players.
Wasn't that like 25 years ago?
It was alive, okay? You guys were still changing diapers.
2007. Let's get that
well,
right.
Point fits, wear it. As Mike and I are huge Mets fans, we have no lost love for the Atlanta Braves at all. The Atlanta Braves had a lot of issues coming into the season. You weren't sure when Ronald Acuna was going to be back. Max Fried had left and is having an amazing season for the New York Yankees. The overall morale of the team is where I see the problem. I think you got so much pressure on other Atlanta pitchers right now that they are not able to have confidence because, face it, when you're sitting 13 games out which I can't remember the last time the Braves were ever 13 games out of first place ever in the last 10 years. This is a straight kick to the gonads for them. What's going on is they're trying to win, but they've never really acquired pieces that they lost. Yeah, they made a great deal last year signing Ozzie Albies to a long-term contract as he is a good second base player. But this is like the first time in a long time they have not spent money. My question that is going to kick over to Dan is once they knew Max Fried was gone and they weren't going to have Acuna, were they going to pull a dump and run? Dan?
Well, it depends on what you mean by dump and run. I mean,
What I exactly mean is, like Mike said, forget the season. Let's just worry about next year and we'll have money to go pick up new players. That's where I was going with that.
but they have the players to actually compete in the National League despite losing Max Fried. That's the problem. Um, th- they haven't been that great this season. They've shown flashes, and of course, Acuna is just amazing. Whether he goes on a bad stretch, whether he goes on a good stretch, he's going to be amazing. So, the fact that he can pick things up very quickly is great for them. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, they haven't been that great, and I guess losing a person like Freed was a part of that reason, but it can't be the full reason. Like, I feel like that the Braves to me, I don't think it really matters who's on that team. If built right, they can compete, not necessarily win the World Series. I'm not saying that. I think that still goes to New York or LA or all those people, Philly. But Atlanta can compete. So go out there and actually make something of what you have and then entice people to come here.
I think Max Fried is a bigger loss than I think people understand. We didn't know when Strider was going to come back, and then post Tommy John, he's not going to come back and be the same guy. Takes a little bit. So then you're relying on Spencer Schwellenbach, who's a great young pitcher. AJ Smith Shaver, really good pitcher. He's now hurt. It feels like with the Braves, whenever something goes right, something then goes wrong. And they just can't get out in front of it. The players are there. Dan's right. Like, I don't know if there's a real move you can make to shake it up. Because Olson signed, Albies is signed, Riley signed, Acuna's back, Michael Harris, Ozuna's still at DH. So what has changed over the last year? Well, Raisel Iglesias has an ERA near 7. That's the guy you're counting on to help you win ball games as your closer. That's just not helpful. And I think a big part of this has been the bullpen. If you look at the starters ERA, Schwellenbach's at 3.24. Chris Sale is just under 3 at 2.39. Grant Holmes is at 3.99. Bryce Elder, who threw a gem yesterday in a game that should have won, he's at just a slight bit over 4. Smith Shawver's was at 3.86. Strider's over 5, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he's going to find it.
I agree.
Then if you look at some of their key relievers, Iglesias, as I just said, 6.75. Pierce Johnson's near 4. Mets legend Rafael Montero's over 5. These are supposed to be important cogs in their bullpen, and it's just not working. And I don't know how you fix a bullpen in the span of a couple of weeks, but they're going to have to figure it out because they are very quickly running out of room and real estate in the National League. There's 3 teams with a worse record, and they're the Pirates, Marlins, and Rockies. And that's a very bad law firm, to be honest with you.
To the point of everything, I had to double check because I want to make sure I'm right on this. Max Fried is 8-1 with a 1.73 ERA.
Something like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's very close. I mean, on the ERA.
And
You cannot tell me that the Braves made a very bad mistake in not keeping him, Dan.
well, I mean, and I'm gonna hammer on this point later on Bombers Banter when we talk Yankees. The massive difference maker for their season, because you take away those 8 wins, and come losses, or maybe some of them are wins, whatever it is. Like, it's a totally different Yankee season. Imagine that with the Braves.
Yeah. And of his 13 game start, 9 are quality starts.
Mhm. Like, Kiki consistently, and the one thing about Max Fried that I want to give him credit, because we didn't really give him this credit when he was with the Braves and in his transition to the Bronx. He has ace-like stuff. He was told, because of a Garrett Cole season-ending injury, before the season started, you have to carry us. You have to be the big-time dog at the top of the rotation. Max Fried's never done that, ever.
Yeah.
Here he is, doing it consistently. And let's be real, Cy Young candidate. Like, it is a completely different picture that I've seen, and someone, we have to give him credit for this too, that has stayed very healthy. And
That's been the key for him, is
you
he
know,
stayed healthy, because every other year it feels like he lands himself on the injured list. And to your point, Cy Young candidate, the debate between him and Scooble is going to be very interesting, especially as we get closer to the All-Star game and we talk about who deserves to be the starter.
yeah.
That's going to be a real fun debate between him and Scooble, because Scooble, he
It's
just
another
keeps
great game the
doing
other
it.
day.
He was brilliant again Friday night. But I think for the Braves, I think the question is going to be, you're going to keep running it back with this nucleus because they're all signed. But what's the move that you kind of say, you know what? It'd be classic Braves. It's an under the radar move
Yeah.
that just sparks them. Because I'll say this, I will not. That is the one team, even though they're 9 under 500 at the moment, if they were to win 12 of 15 and get themselves right back in, I would not be surprised.
And we've seen Atlanta do that in the past, let's be honest.
So part of that is the respect you have for them. But the other part is what you just said. We've seen them do it. Now, on the flip side, a team that's gotten hot all of a sudden, 7-3 in their last 10, trying to pull what kind of like what the Mets pulled last year. The Baltimore Orioles have gotten themselves, well, they're still 9 under, but they're 7.5 out in the wild card, thinking we got a chance.
You're talking the turn of the month from May, which was a horrible month for Baltimore. Then they go on the streak, and now, a few days into June, you're in your winning ways. They're facing the A's, right? I mean, cool.
They get the third game with the A's this afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. But like still, if it's you have to the goal is to win, period, right? And that's
Yeah.
what the Orioles are doing. And they're doing it well. They're doing it with the hitting, somewhat with the pitching too. Yeah, I gotta give them credit on that. Like they're actually showing some signs of playing good baseball. And that's important. You know, look, now's the time. This is a very, very weak American League.
Yep.
And now's the time, if you really want to make a playoff push, to do it.
The Baltimore Orioles, as we all know, what they did last year and from the way they started, it's a completely different team. But as Mike said, as of late, and I'm only going to really call out one player here who's having a stat-wise number with 10 home runs, 31 RBIs, a good amount of walk and stolen bases, but his average is nowhere like him. And that's Cedric Mullins. He was injured, I believe, and he was on the 10-day, but I believe he is now back. This is a team filled with probably as equal to the New York Mets as a farm system with talking about talent.
They're very good.
And they have not really put it on display. Nothing against Ryan O'Hearn. He's batting 316 with 9 home runs and 24 RBIs. If this team catches like the way Mike and Dan had just talked about, 7.5 from the wild card, it's not that hard to get into. And if I were, whether it be the Yankees or anybody in the AL, you all know what Baltimore is capable of doing. And if they get hot and they sneak in, that would be the team I'd be most concerned about if I were the Yankees or anybody else in the AL.
Especially the Yankees, because division wise. Now,
Right,
not saying the Yankees are fine right now. Like they're,
right.
but still keep that in mind.
These young guys are going to hit. Gunnar Henderson's a superstar. Jackson Holiday is a budding star. We're waiting on Adley Rutschman to get going. That'd be the big one. And they got Colton Cowser back. He's been hitting the ball really well. But they've also taken advantage of the schedule. They beat up the White Sox. Great. Then how'd they back up beating the White Sox? Well, they went into Seattle and swept the Mariners.
Big
That's how
series.
you do it. And then if you could take 2 of 3 from the Oakland or Sacramento A's, whoever the hell you want to call it, do it. And then you go home. You get Detroit and the Angels coming into your ballpark. Go 4-2. Little, but we're only at June 8th. And I get it. People are going to say, well, the season's going to go by. But if they play well in 5 and 6 game increments, that 7.5 game lead in the wild card, you're not going to make it up in 1 week. You're going to make it up over time. And if this team gives Mike Elias, who screwed up this winter by not getting them a real number 1 pitcher, give them a reason to go get a starting pitcher, a guy who could set a tone. And that would change so much of a narrative in Baltimore going forward, because I believe a big part of the focus is, well, we didn't do anything over the winter. And it's kind of become a mindset of, well, no one really believes in us. You know what? No, someone does believe in you, even though your run differential's minus 85. But you're only 7 out in the wild card. That's why baseball put in the 3rd wild card. So come on, Baltimore. You could fight it.
Yeah. Tony Mansolino's done a great job with that team. And yeah, Mike Elias has to, just keep on watch for these teams that are looking to get some players off their books and send them away because if they can get a pitcher or even any veteran that could help them win and make the playoffs, that'd be huge. But Orioles, they got to keep it up. It's going to be a tough week for them
Yep.
coming up. So, but in whole, if they could scrap off even 3 wins, like
Yeah, listen,
that's a major win. That's huge.
figure it out, man. Look at the teams in front of you. You know, the Rangers, they haven't gotten going yet. The Red Sox are kind of in their own tailspin. The Angels, well, you're going to play them next weekend. You know, and then you get into, you just swept Seattle. Kansas City, we're waiting on. Cleveland. You know, that's when you get into the mixture of the American League. Because your point earlier, Dan, the American League is not that strong.
As it has been in the past.
No. So we'll see what happens with the Orioles as they're playing well. A lot of teams are playing well. Toronto's playing out of their minds right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
9-1 in their last 10.
and they've done it most of the year without Vladdy getting hot. Like that's, I think, the most impressive thing about the Blue Jays. They've done it without Vladdy getting hot.
And guess what? Guerrero's staying. So
Yeah, he's locked up.
if he
Yep.
it may not happen this year for him where he has a great season, but it could happen next year. And guess what? They're his. Yeah, it's he is theirs. And they're
Yep.
his for the next few years. Can you believe that?
Next,
Mike and I were salivating when we saw Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, and Francisco Lindor, courting good old Vladdy at Citi Field. We were getting good vibes, and then he decides to sign for Toronto.
You know what? I respect the hell out of him.
Absolutely.
And they're finding ways to win. Like you said, 9-1 in their last 10. I still think they're a massive threat in the American League because they have the talent. But we're going to run down the list here because we are a little bit more than a month away from the trade deadline. But just to run down the American League wildcard event, Toronto's got the first one. Then all of a sudden the Rays got hot. They're 4 over, which no one saw coming.
Yeah. Oh, well, come on now.
We all know the Rays have found ways to.
The Rays find ways to do everything.
Like, come on.
Although I'm really upset at them because they sent down Chandler Simpson, the dude who could just fly.
Yeah, but they needed that spot for someone who produces more, unfortunately.
I know.
But I don't disagree with you. He's got
Just watching
great speed
that
on the
dude.
path.
Yeah. He'll be back. He'll be back.
Minnesota, Cleveland's right there. Seattle and KC are right there. I mean, the Angels are only 3 under, and they're only 3.5 out in the wild card at the moment. So we're getting to that time of the year where this next month is going to be telling for a lot of teams as we get closer to the deadline, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market.
Who's the one that gets hot the most?
The other thing that occurred this week is voting for the All-Star game has opened.
Aaron Judge. He's my number one.
Doesn't need to play. Just kidding.
I really just want him. Listen, if he's going to play in the game, which he will, I want him in the Derby again.
Yes.
I want him back in the Derby. I want a Derby with the best of the best. I want a Derby with him, Pete, Vladdy. Like, take the winners over the last 8 years and then just make that the Derby.
Maybe we could have a new versus old. They bring the fence in for people who are retired a little bit. I think Albert Pujols would win that one.
You know what? He probably would.
As Mike pointed out, we're right at the trade deadline and we're going to have teams. I just cut him off, and that's why he's rolling. So I'm going to go back to him quickly.
No, I'm imagining like that old school versus new
Oh,
school
okay.
derby, and I'm thinking like, dude, an old school versus new school dunk contest for the NBA.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Can
how
Michael
many-
Jordan
Make
still
I'm-
dunk?
How many of them will be on trampolines, just trying to relearn how to jump?
But Dan and I could make an episode out of that for the throwdown, which will be coming back in the fall.
Yeah.
Actually, you think if they did that for a dunk contest, LeBron would have actually done it?
No, but Ron would trip and cry because he would say his shoelace was untied. Uh, as Mike pointed out, as we're really approaching the trade deadline, of the teams you really got to look at who need help are New York Mets. They need another pitcher. The Mets have assets. So that's where I think the Mets would be aggressive on. But if you look around the league, do the Yankees really need something else, Dan?
Well, they could use some all-stars.
Well, I mean, in a position wise, would they need a pitcher or would they need
well,
offense?
I was having a chat with a friend of mine, who believes the Yankees need a third baseman. Which
Okay.
is not wrong. Yes, they don't have a true third baseman. Haven't had one all season, but I think they're fine right now with what they have. You know, um, and then beef up the starting pitching. But up until last night, and he got rocked last night, Ryan Yarbrough has actually done a serviceable job.
Mhm.
So, you have him freed at the top, obviously. This great version of the Beard Rodon, which is pretty nice to see. He's been pretty solid. Um,
Yes.
I think the Yankees are in okay shape. Obviously, Stroman is, trying to get off IL. That'll actually be big for us, even though he hasn't been great. Luis Hill, like once we get those players back, I think the Yankees will be.
Has there been an update on Heel or
I haven't really seen one. I haven't seen one. The last update I got from injuries was Giancarlo reporting to the minor leagues. So,
yeah, they think he might be back
I think they were
the
saying next week.
or so.
yeah.
Yeah, we're a very diverse group here. We have Yankees and Mets. For some reason, a Jets fan or two. I never get that part. And we got some Cowboy fans that mixed up. The great thing is we all like different teams, especially in baseball and football.
So
To that extent, I think this is going to be one of the bigger trade deadline years in a while.
Yeah. I'd
So
be
this-
shocked. I'd be shocked if the Yankees don't go after somebody.
So this is from yesterday. This is SNY on Luis Heel. He had a side session recently, but will need to go through a handful of them still before he faces live batters. And Aaron Boone categorized it as touch and feel right now.
I say August.
Possible. Maybe end of July.
Because at this point, the month of June, he's definitely missing June if he's still taking side sessions. And then you have July, but July is short because of the All-Star break.
Yep.
So I say August, and you have him down the stretch in the year. I don't know what he's going to look like in August.
The other thing they could do if he's not ready to go 5-6 innings, another arm to the bullpen.
Yeah.
And he could be your,
keep the likes of Clark Schmidt and Will Warren. Maybe go 6-man.
Could do that. I mean, we've talked about Devin Williams' issues, and maybe Luis Heel helps in that role. Maybe not as a closer because Luke Weaver will be back at some point, but I my thing on the Yankees is this, because I think once October comes, teams are going to start, or I still don't get why teams haven't done this, just throwing up the four fingers when Aaron Judge comes to the plate. Don't let him beat you.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you'd be
Jazz
shocked.
is coming back from the IL. He's been hot since.
Yeah. By the way, thank God, because I was worried.
Eventually they'll get Stanton back, but teams are going to have to start making other guys in this lineup beat you.
Yeah.
Make Volpe or Cabrera or Ben Rice, who's
Dominguez.
also been really good. So I don't know. There's a lot of teams over the next month we're gonna see, and that's gonna dictate whether they buy or sell. And Mark, to your point on the Mets are about to make two new additions at some point when they get Sean and I and Frankie Montas back.
Exactly. We have talked, Mike and I, on and off. Well, let's face it, we talk at least 7 times a day regarding the Mets. And obviously, we both been talking about maybe they'll go after a pitcher. That's still possible. The question is who's going to be the forefront of that trade? And my opinion is, and as sad as I would to see him go, because I really do like the kid, but I think Brett Beatty, now that Ronnie Mauricio is up, and he crushed one last night
Mhm.
that I had to go and watch and see because Mike told me about it. I was watching Good Night and Good Luck. And he's going to be a very good positional utility player who can play third, left field, or second. And the Mets are going to have 3 third basemen on their starting roster. Vientos is not going anywhere. I think Beatty will be the forefront of that trade.
And remember, though, it's gonna have to be worth David Stern's while to
Understood.
make that move. So, I don't even think the rotation's the biggest need at the moment. I actually do. I think they're gonna need a lefty in the bullpen. I don't
Yes.
trust this Jose Castillo where they can throw him, and maybe one more solid arm in that bullpen. They brought in some guys yesterday on minor league deals, so we'll see what happens there. But that's what I would look at. If they wanted to look, because I don't think they're going to add another position player bench wise, because they're going to
They have
lead
more than
on
enough to
Winker to
cover it.
return. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there. A lot of interest in a lot of things. All right. We will definitely keep going trade deadline talk as we get closer. All right. So last week, for those who watched this program, Dan and I did a special thing based on the Yankee Dodger matchup, which was we created a lineup featuring players who played for New York based teams. We include the Mets, Giants, Dodgers, and Yankees. Well, this week, we got another big rivalry weekend that occurred. Yankees Red Sox. So my brain said, screw it. Let's do the same thing, but let's go with the Yankees and the Red Sox and build this lineup.
Of course, Mike picked the 2 teams I hate the most.
Wait, why do you hate the Red Sox the most?
Because they piss me off. That's all.
It should be the Phillies.
No, I detest the Phillies. That's a higher ranking than hate. This was extremely challenging for me as we have Dan, who is our lifelong Yankee fan. He knows stats of current and of old. Mike is an encyclopedia and knowledge of all baseball. Me, I know plenty about baseball, don't get me wrong. If this was Mets, I wouldn't even have to look it up. I could do it in my head. But we're going all the way back to the beginning of the start. And it's not like you can just say, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig. No, you got to give it a little consideration. So I like that Mike went with these 2 teams. to actually give me time to do research and think on it.
All right, so let's get. You want to get started then?
Whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, boss.
All right. Let's do what we did last week, which was position by position,
Okay.
and we'll go from there. So, Mark, I'll start with you. Who do you have behind the dish in this
Uh,
Yankee Red Sox configuration?
Okay. Dan might have a heart attack, but for the New
Don't
York
kill Dan
Yankees,
live on air.
I have Bill Dickey over Yogi Berra.
Mhm.
My reasoning's why.
That's
Yogi Berra,
a great name.
one of the greatest, if not top echelon, next to Johnny Bench and Mike Piazza, as a leader, as a humanitarian, and for not always getting a sentence that anybody ever understood. Bill Dickey, if you go back and look at this guy's stats and record, he was part of that Murderers Row lineup with Ruth and Gehrig, and he could hit and defend when it was much different back then. Again, nothing against Yogi Berra, but I went with Bill Dickey. For the Red Sox, I really don't think there was really much of a choice, and I have Carlton Fisk, which to me was the most obvious choice.
All right, if you had to pick one, Dickey versus Fisk, where you go?
Very tough. I go Carlton Fisk because of the power.
Okay. All right. Dan, who would you put behind the plate?
I'm putting Yogi Berra. I'm sorry. Bill Dickey. Bill Dickey's a great name. This is a great name. Yogi Berra is a winner. Period. I don't gotta say any. He's a
He
winner.
also had a cartoon bear named after him, Yogi Bear. Hey, boo boo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of names you could put on this. Thurman Munson's another one we
Yeah.
could have put out there. Hip Hip Jorge could have been put on here. Jason Veritek could have been put on here.
Yeah.
I'm with Mark. I went Carlton Fisk too, just based on
Yeah.
the pop and
And I mean, come on.
yeah,
Let's
exactly.
stay fair, you know?
Goodbye, home run. Yeah, I went Carlton Fisk too. So Dan, I'll go to you next. Who do you have at first base?
First base. Trying to think. He was so good. I'm gonna have Mark Teixeira there.
Ooh,
Ooh, okay.
I know it's a little bit of recency bias, but I love watching Mark Teixeira at first base. He was incredible.
I'll say this on Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira, one of the best defensive first basemen
I'll agree there.
As
Yes.
well
that
as
I
having the
got
pop.
to witness.
As well as having the pop too.
Yeah,
And with those short porches at Yankee Stadium, the park
Yeah.
was built for his type of bat.
Yeah.
but he hit everywhere. He hit in Texas. He hit with
Yes.
the Angels. He hit with the Braves.
Yeah.
He was a consummate ball player, Mark Teixeira.
Yeah. Like the Yankees really missed that first baseman. And look, Goldschmidt's doing a great job. But they really missed Teixeira's defensive side when he retired nearly 10 years ago. Can you believe that?
Quote John Sterling, you're on the mark, Teixeira.
Uh,
All right. Mark, where are you going at first base?
I went Donnie Baseball. I got to watch him play for a long time. The man was probably the best defensive first baseman I got to watch. And the Gold Gloves show that in enough sense. And Don Mattingly, he was a New Yorker. He still is. he fit right in, not only with the players, but with the fans as well.
Donnie Baseball
Yeah.
was also on the Great Simpsons episode. Mattingly, I told you to cut those sideburns. Um, I'm going to go Lou Gehrig if you're just going to hand him over to me. You want to talk about an icon, and we know what recently passed was June 4th, which, we celebrate Lou Gehrig. So I'm going to go Lou Gehrig there. Second base, and I'll start this off. I'm going to go with one of my favorite players of all time. And it's Dan, you said Mark Teixeira's recency bias, so is this one. Dustin Pedroia. I love Dustin Pedroia. You could give me a team filled of Dustin Pedroias. Hustle, the grit. He was Altuve before Altuve. Such a great ball player and a winner. Give me Dustin Pedroia every day of the week and 3 times on Sunday.
Dan?
You had the steroid era on top of that. But him being 5'9" and being as explosive as he was, as fast as he was, and until his injuries, one of the best second basemen
Yeah.
on the planet. It's hard not to pick Dustin Pedroia, man. You know,
Those 3 second basemen, Pedroia, Kinsler, Cano. Like, you couldn't go wrong with any
yeah,
one of the 3 of them at that time.
And Cano ruined his own career.
that's the thing.
Don't you know?
You know, shit. No,
This
Pedroia,
was
I have
sorry,
him
sorry,
too.
Dan.
Like I have him too. Like, look, crazy coming from Yankee fan, but dude, like, I want Pedroia on my team. I want winners on my team.
Yeah.
Pedroia's won. That's a lot. That's something that people don't really talk about. It's a shame that he's not going to go to the Hall of Fame because he doesn't have the no doesn't have the numbers, right? You know, but dude's a winner, dude's a fighter, and when there are a lot of people that counted him out because of his size,
Yeah.
but yet he was explosive a player as he was.
And I wonder this because, and Mark, I'll let you go after this. When Altuve gets in, because Altuve's going to get in, I wonder if a veterans committee would open up for Pedroia because MVP, Rookie of the Year,
Yep.
multiple World Series, deserve. I don't care if his peak wasn't long enough. The dude was a grinder and a player. So I hope
Se-
eventually, maybe he does get his rightful place in Cooperstown. Mark, I'll
Second baseman, this was so hard. And I'm going old school. There's nothing new school on this. And I had 2 guys sitting right on my thing. I have Bobby Doerr for the Red Sox, and I have Bobby Richardson for the New York Yankees.
Mm.
Both fantastic, very important parts of either team during their era. But I got to sit at an autograph signing as a favor to Gloria Rosenstein a long time ago, who used to run the card shows around here. And she asked me would I sit with Bobby Richardson as a favor because they didn't have anybody. I said, okay. The stories he would tell about after the games with Mantle and what they used to do, about the fight with Orlando Cepeda coming in and throwing a chair at Yankee players was absolutely wonderful. But of the 2, both were great. Bobby Richardson was the better defender, and he was more of a leader, in my opinion. So I got Bobby Richardson at second.
All right. Dan at shortstop.
You can go a million different ways at shortstop. I'm sticking with my boy Jeter. I'm always gonna back him. because he had the grit and he wanted to succeed. And that dude really became, it took him a long time to do so, but really became such a great shortstop and a great hitter. So ultimately, you have 5 rings. Like, give me all those 5 rings and then some.
Mm.
Derek Jeter, all-time Yankee.
And was never afraid of the spotlight.
No,
And
he handled it well.
no, it wasn't just that he handled it well, but he played the game the right way. Like, remember the catch he made? I think it was a July 4th game against the Red Sox, and he goes into the crap. Like, he knew the moment, and he was always the center of attention, and he always grabbed that spotlight, and he said, "It's not too big for me." And that's how you get a nickname like Mr. November. So I'm with you, Dan. Like, I mean, you could, if you want to argue Nomar, I mean, that was the only guy I really thought of.
Mhm.
But I'm going to go with Jeter.
I had Nomar and Jeter lined up. The only reason I hated Derek Jeter was that he was on the Yankees. I loved him as a player. I loved that jump throw from shortstop that he could throw on a line. Remind me of when Troy Tulowitzki used to do it, but Jeter did it better. Jeter did it better. So, as much as I am going to say another Yankee that really put me out of a lot of liking of the Yankees in the year 2000, it is Derek Jeter.
He also, as someone who, like you, didn't root for the Yankees, he was impossible to hate.
Yeah,
He,
I love the guy. I just hated the fact he was on the
right.
Yankees. He could have
You
been on
couldn't
any other
hate,
team besides
you
the Mets,
couldn't
and I would
hate,
have loved him.
you could not hate him. You just
No,
hated the fact that he's a Yankee. Derek
that's it.
Jeter was impossible to hate. And it really hurts that to say that about a Yankee. He was impossible to hate.
He was the cleanest Yankee to ever play. And I'm not meaning drug wise. I mean, a guy who never got in trouble, was never in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. He was the face of the Yankees. He was the captain for the right reasons. And you cannot hate Jeter.
And it's taken a step further. He was the face of baseball.
Yeah. Before
He
Otani, yes.
really was the face of baseball. And he was just, no one ever said a bad word about him.
Mhm.
All right. Mark, where are you going for third base?
Way Boggs. I mean, I got to watch the guy play. Nothing to take nothing away from Clete Boyer, who was a fantastic ball player in his time. I got to see Wade Boggs. I got to see him play when he got his 3,000th hit in Tampa Bay. He was a great ball player. The fact that he could drink 50 beers on a play from New York to LA, that was something. But when he was on the field, great defense, great bat, and a good teammate.
Dan?
All-time Red Sox, Wade Boggs. There's just no way you could avoid him. Like, batting titles galore while he was in Boston. I think he had like 5 of them or whatever. And of course, one of the key
Excuse me.
members of that 96 Yankee World Series team. Like, come on now. And
Except for the fact that that home run was
yeah.
interfered with. I don't care.
In any case, yeah, no, look, Wade Boggs, great defense, great hitting, in the Hall of Fame, and but you can, and if you were to give me a lot of, not that the Yankee third baseman would have been great for this lineup,
No,
but
they had plenty.
Wade Boggs, no one, a lot of people don't really talk about Wade Boggs as much as they used to. That's
I think because contact hitting has gone so far down, and everyone cares more about the home run and
yeah,
on base percentage stuff. That
Hit the nail on the head with that one.
that's a good point.
again, I'm going recency bias, and part of it is his history in the rivalry. And I know he's not playing the position currently, but Rafi Devers, this dude's going to win an MVP. This dude,
He has to.
listen, I still remember the ball he hit off of Aroldis Chapman that came in at 101 neck
You mean the
high.
one that landed in Westchester County?
Yeah, this dude is awesome. Love him. Also, I kind of figured someone was going to talk Wade Boggs, but I'm going to take Devers here. Just an outstanding ball player. They're not a great teammate based on what's going on right now, but he's a great ball player. All right. Dan, how does your outfield look?
I had a tough time with this outfield.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I had a really tough time with this outfield. Well, here's one thing for sure. Aaron Judge is in this lineup. I don't care where he plays. Put Aaron Judge wherever he wants to be. So Aaron Judge, we'll start with him.
Okay. Are we doing all three outfielders? at once,
doing
Mike?
all
I'm
three
Yeah,
at
sorry,
you
the
can
same
go all
time.
three.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, I
Well,
made
that
it.
makes it easier then.
Yeah.
Ted Williams, hello.
Hey, what's up?
We're putting him there.
Manishma.
Manny Ramirez.
Man Ram. Okay.
Man, a lot of Yankee fights started because of him.
Mhm.
For
He
me,
had great
my-
hair. Him and David. It was greasy, but it was beautiful.
so my outfield pretty much, there's no way you're telling me I'm having anybody but Ted Williams in left. There is no way I am telling you I don't have Mickey Mantle in center. As for my right field, I could have went a lot of ways, but there's where Babe Ruth comes in.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
That is my outfield.
I'm with you on 2/3. I got Ted in left. I got Mickey in center. And I got Mr. October right. Give me Reggie Jackson.
Okay.
A very fair and reliable pick, yes.
Yeah. All right. Mark, who do you have as the DH?
As the DH, there were only two names I could put, and obviously that's David Ortiz and Aaron Judge. You give me Aaron Judge any day of the week. I'm sorry. I love David Ortiz. I love Big Poppy. But Aaron Judge is probably the scariest hitter in all of baseball. Next to Otani. Next to Otani.
Okay. Dan, where are you going on DH?
Give me all of Alex Rodriguez's juice stuff and tainted home runs. All 690, was 694 then, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's something
Something like
Yeah.
that.
in
691,
that ballpark.
whatever it is. I forget. All near 700 of Alex Rodriguez's tainted home runs into that DH spot. He was an incredible DH when he had to be.
He was a great player when he had
Great
to.
player in general. Became I could have put him at third base. I didn't want to disrespect Wade Boggs because he's a true
Right.
A-Rod was put there because he had to, you know?
Yeah, I felt like I went a lot of Yankees, so I'm going to go Big Poppy here.
I
All of his tainted home runs too.
Oh, sure. A clutch gene. The dude had a clutch gene too.
I love Big Poppy.
He was
You know,
awesome. And again, another fun personality.
he's great on as an announcer.
Yeah.
Hard to understand, but Great
Yeah,
announcer.
he's very good. All right, Dan, who would be your starting pitcher?
This was probably the hardest part of this entire list.
So many good ones.
I know that's why I love these lists.
Yeah, of all the positions, this was the hardest.
The
As
Rocket,
both teams.
the Rocket, Roger Clemens.
Oh, okay. Played for both.
Oh, excuse me.
Also Toronto Blue Jays legend. So you go, Roger. Where are you going, Mark?
You know, both teams have had great starting pitchers, but only one of them I could put here. And this is where our only expletive goes, since Dan hasn't dropped one yet. It's my turn for once. Pedro fucking Martinez. There is nobody, and mind you, this is over pitchers like Ron Guidry. I mean, and stuff like that. Martinez was feared on the mound, and he was a great ball player. His bad moment is when he threw a geriatric to the ground, but hey, that's in the past.
And he was so filthy in his career. I'm gonna go same team, different guy. People don't like him for multitude of reasons, but in a big game in the early 2000s, there was nobody you want on the mound more than Kurt Schilling.
Oh, no, okay.
The bloody sock game.
Was that it?
He and by the way, politics aside, Kurt Schilling should be in the Hall of Fame.
Without question.
He was that good. So there you have ultimate Yankee Red Sox lineup. You want to comment on it or give us your own? Comment here on the YouTube page and let us know. All right. On to the big series of the week. Mark, we start with the big one in the National League. As the team you detest the most, the Philadelphia Phillies, host the Chicago Cubs.
You got the Phillies at 37 and 27, and you got the Cubs at 40 and 24. They're pretty matched even record wise. The Phillies lost Aaron Nola, and that's huge as of the season he had last year. They've been keeping pace the best they can do. Wheeler's off to another good start, as usual. I think Philadelphia has to pull these out to keep pace with the Mets. They dropped 2 more games. It's going to be hard as the Mets are now back on streaking again. Yes, playing in Colorado and all that, we understand we're going to hit home runs and even with a broken toe. But the Philadelphia Phillies, if they want to stay in this race, they have to take 2 out of 3.
And how well the Cubs have played it, led by Pete Crow Armstrong,
Who was a
former
Met?
Met prospect. It's a lot. All right, Dan. The Yankees go to KC to play the Royals.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would like for them to continue to be solid and continue winning. Royals are a tough team, but keep winning. Like, this is again, you're dominating the American League so far. They're not really. There's no one besides the Tigers and Yankees are running with it. So keep running with it and do some damage against KC. First of all, win the series against Boston tonight.
Who's pitching tonight?
Uh, Crap. Who's on that?
If you don't know, I can always look.
Hold up. Yankee probable
Is Rodon,
Don. Yeah.
Mm.
who was also having a great year as well.
Mhm. His
Not gonna
last
take
few
that away
starts
from
have been
When he limits his walks, he's
I mean, he's 8-3 with a 2.40 ERA. That's outstanding. I don't care what other things have happened.
yeah.
Compared to what he was last year, this is a complete 180.
And it's much needed this year. So
Hmm.
Rodon versus Dobbins, by the way.
Yes.
Who who's been horrible. I mean, horrible.
Does
J.K.
anybody bet Aaron
Dobbins, the
Judge
one.
for a 500-foot home run?
me
Yeah.
Man. All right.
and his 397 average. Beat the Royals.
Stop pitching to Aaron Judge, people. We got the Blue Jays and the Cardinals, two teams who've been red hot. What about the Cardinals looking for a sweep of the Dodgers today?
Yeah, Cardinals who pretty much since May or even April, really.
Yeah, we kind of wrote them off early, but they've bounced right very well.
Yeah, no, they've been terrific. Um, the one person that I have to give a lot of credit, and he got the big hit last night was Arenado.
Yep,
He's been very solid
he's been awesome.
and thank goodness because he didn't totally disappear, but he was not the Nolan Arenado that we've come to know and love, and he's sort of getting back to that. So I'm very happy for him that he's been one of the big difference makers this season for the Cards.
Now we talked about the Blue Jays before how hot they've been. Their pitching's been off the charts. And then big one in the National League West. The Dodgers go to San Diego to play the Padres. And if you're the Padres, if there's a chance to make a statement, it's now with the amount of injuries in the Dodger rotation.
And the amount of slumping that's going on right now.
Yeah.
I think Mike is right. If there's any time of anything, San Diego can and I think will at least take this series, if not sweep it.
And this is the biggest threat to the Dodgers in the NL West.
Agreed.
Yeah, with Corbin Burns being down, the Padres are the biggest threat. The Giants are okay. I'm still not 100% on board with them, but that is what it is. One other thing before we go, a couple of milestones. Manny Machado hit his 350th home earlier this week, and Kenley Jansen 450 saves.
That's huge.
Unbelievable.
Two other guys
Congratulations
will
to
go
him.
to Cooperstown.
Always liked him no matter who he played for. Great pitcher.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of Batter Up, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. Mark?
We got a lot going on at the dugout right now. If you go to Top Notch Sports Club and go on eBay on their website, we got some big cards going on, especially an Ohtani autograph numbered out of 15. We will be doing Through the Dugout this week in T-ball with Troy. Charlotte has a 1-of-1 coming up. So we got a lot going on. If anybody's interested in any of the cards they see up on the 1-of-1, I usually give a few days before they go out to my co-signer, which is Top Notch Sports Club. Anthony Laparo, John, and the guys do well. As I mentioned earlier, Tommy Bird and the Leaf Pop Century Club has an amazing breakup right now. And there are a lot of great names to go get. So please, if you're looking for Pop Century, this is the site to go get it.
All right. If you're looking for more content from us, you can get the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the YouTube page, which we are live on now. You can go to the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Follow us on the socials, Facebook, The Sports Insanity Network, Twitter, S-Insanity Real. And until next time, for the old ops running guy, Danny Boy Reginald, I'm Mike Rifke. We'll talk to you all next week here on the Batter Up Podcast, sponsored by the Dugout of Millwood. Have a wonderful Sunday, everybody.
Peace and love.